Okay, let me tell you about the third secret of leadership. This guy, Joshua Chamberlain. Now, I just told you about George Washington and how he saved the Republic. There would be no America without George Washington, period. This guy also saved the Republic, and many of you don't even know who he is. Joshua Chamberlain was a professor at Bowdoin College in Maine. He was a professor during the Civil War who said, I'm going to enlist and join the Army and serve because I believe in our cause. And he left his cushy job and joined a regiment, and was quickly, because of his education and his natural leadership ability, was elected to be an officer, because that's how they did it then. They elected you. And then he started to lead properly, and he made it to lieutenant colonel. He fought at several battles. At Fredericksburg, he was the second in command of a regiment, the 2nd Maine. And at Fredericksburg, the Union Army charged across the river, up a hill, directly into Confederate fire, wave upon wave upon wave, and they melted like snow in the summer to the awesome, accurate fire of the Confederates on the top of the hill, holding the stone wall. The courage was amazing, but futile. The battlefield was littered with dead, and Joshua Chamberlain survived. He pulled out of that, and the Army began to go to other missions. And in July of 1863, they were moving north into Pennsylvania because Robert E. Lee had decided to go north into Pennsylvania and bring the entire Confederate Army there so that he could swing through Pennsylvania and possibly come down onto Washington, D.C. And if he did that and beat the Union armies on the way, the Confederacy would have won the war. So, in July of 1863, a battle started at a place called Gettysburg. When the battle started, the 2nd Maine was moving toward the battle. They weren't there yet. The day before the battle, a captain, Pennsylvania captain, came up to Joshua Chamberlain. The regiment had started with 2,000 men from Maine. In July, they had 172 left. Most had died at Fredericksburg and other battles. So it wasn't much of a regiment. This captain from Pennsylvania came up leading 102 prisoners. And these guys were from another Maine regiment. And Joshua Chamberlain, and 20th Maine, I'm sorry, not the 2nd Maine. These guys were of the 2nd Maine. Joshua Chamberlain commanded the 20th Maine. And these guys from the 2nd Maine had signed up their enlistments for 2 years, when the rest of the regiment had only signed up for 1. So when the rest of their 2nd Maine regiment had said their enlistments were up and they went home, these guys felt like they should have gone home too. The Corps commander disagreed, had them all arrested as mutineers. The Pennsylvania captain who was leading these guys had been marching them for 2 days without food and water. They had disarmed them. They were in uniform, but no guns. He brought them up to Joshua Chamberlain of the 20th Maine and said, they're yours. They're mutineers. You can shoot them if you want to. Now, Chamberlain only had 100-some guys. There were more mutineers than he had. So the question was, what does he do? The neat thing about Chamberlain was that he understood human beings, and he knew that merit matters and that the individual counts. So he pulled these guys down, had them sit down under a tree, and he talked to them and said, here's the story. I don't know what happened to you, and I don't know why this occurred. But first we're going to let you get some food and water, and then I'm going to talk with you. So he fed them, gave them some water, and after they'd eaten their meal, he came over and talked to them, and he said, okay, we're heading to a big fight. This could decide the fate of the war. The reason that we're fighting is important. We're fighting for liberty. We're fighting to set people free. We're fighting for a better future. It's not the land. There's always more land. It's not money. We're not fighting for anything but freedom. And if you join me and pick up the rifle, I'd personally appreciate it. All but 4 did. So now his force is twice as strong. They march toward Gettysburg, and as soon as they get there, they're thrown into the fight. A general comes up to him and says, "You must hold the left flank. Get to that hill, hold the left flank. There's nobody else. You're the last to arrive. You must hold the left flank of this battlefield. If we lose the left flank, if we lose this hill, the Confederates will come around, get behind us, and destroy the army." Chamberlain says, "I understand." He goes to a place called Little Round Top. They set up there, and sure enough, here comes John Bell Hood, Confederate general, and he is determined. And his regiments are charging up that hill, wave after wave after wave, screaming the rebel yell, shooting, marching all the way up to the top, fighting to within inches of hand-to-hand combat. 10 times they go back and forth in different fights. Joshua Chamberlain's men are now out of ammunition. They can't hold any more. He's at the top. He's taken wounded. The hill is full of dead. His command sergeant major comes up to him and says, "Sir, what are we going to do? We're out of ammo." He says, "Fix bayonets. When the Confederates come this next time, we're going to charge. We'll swing down this hill, and we'll pull this left side of us, swinging like a door, and we'll sweep them off the hill. And they'll be so fast and so surprised, they won't know what hit them." And his officers look at him like he is from Mars. "You've got to be kidding me. We have no ammunition, and you want us to attack a force that outnumbers us 2 or 3 to 1 with the bayonet." And that's exactly what they did. The Confederates came up the hill. Chamberlain shouts, "Bayonet!" They all fix bayonets. He tells the bugler to blow the charge, and they charge down that hill. And he sweeps the Confederates off the hill, and they are so surprised and so overwhelmed by this overwhelming rush of madmen charging down, screaming from the top of the hill, they think it must be a huge attack, because only an idiot would attack with so few men. And he saves Little Round Top. And within about 20 minutes, more Union forces show up, and Little Round Top is secured. Had he decided to withdraw, had he pulled off that hill, the Confederates would have taken the hill, put cannon up there, moved around. The Battle of Gettysburg would have ended in a Confederate victory. Joshua Chamberlain. Be determined. So the secret is a leader must be determined. Never quit. Find a way or make one. Time and again, leaders are going to find themselves in situations that look unreasonable, that look impossible. Good leaders find a way or make one. Abraham Lincoln said, "Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other one thing." Okay, secret number 4. That is a picture of victory. Those guys are smiling. Let me tell you, that's at the Top Gun School of the U.S. Army, a place called the National Training Center. Every one of those guys has just beat the bad guy, and that hardly ever happened. The bad guys always beat us. Now, I was blessed to be stationed at the National Training Center, and I was the chief of staff of the bad guys for 2 years. So I fought every unit in the American Army and beat them over and over again. And it was fantastic. It was Valhalla. We had this training area the size of Delaware. I had about 250 tanks in my Russian-styled regiment. We had lasers on all of our equipment and laser designators on every one of our soldiers and equipment. So we fought these huge laser tag battles for 14 days straight, day and night. And at the end of it, we learned how to fight. We learned combined arms operations. Well, after 2 years of that, I got this phone call saying, "Hey, you're moving on to be the executive officer for the 1st Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division." These guys. And I was just in the middle. When I got that phone, I was in my BRDM, which is a Russian-style armored vehicle. And I had this shoebox telephone. Remember back in the Land Before Time when they used to have these mobile phones that were like this big? This was really amazing. So I answered this phone, and it was the Pentagon, and they said, "We've got your next assignment, whether you like it or not. and you're going to be the XO of the 1st Brigade, 1st Infantry. And I was just throwing the last artillery shells and ordering the counterattack on these guys a year before this picture was taken, or 18 months before this picture was taken. So the next day I had to show up and report to the commander and say, in my Op 4 uniform, my opposing forces Russian-style uniform, I showed up and said, "Sir, I'm going to be your XO." And he went, "The enemy. I hate you." So I said, "Great." So we started training. My job was to get them to win next time. My job was to train them so that this staff could run operations, so that this unit could win, and help that commander to be a hero in the next time he had to make this fight. And we did. And that's the proof, because they're all smiling. You can't imagine how important that is. These guys won. They beat the Op 4. That was a big, big deal. If you ever saw the movie with Tom Cruise, Top Gun, it's the same kind of thing. This was our Top Gun school, and to beat the bad guys, to beat the red guys was amazing. It didn't happen often. So remember that as a leader, your job is to teach people. Be a coach and a mentor. Jack Welch put it this way: before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself, learning yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. Effective leaders teach, coach, and mentor, and develop their leaders. We did leadership lunches every week. We had one day a week where we did nothing but train for the fight by writing operations orders and using constructive virtual and live simulation to train our guys. We were so focused on this fight that when we got there, we knew exactly how to do it. It was an amazing thing to watch.